Welcome. Today we're looking at a crown or rottenness, insights from Esther. We'll explore what makes an excellent wife a crown and what brings rottenness in his bones through the stories of Vashti and Esther. Good morning, everyone. A particular proverb today made me pause and wonder. Proverbs chapter 12 verse 4 says, "An excellent wife is the crown of her husband, but she who causes shame is like rottenness in his bones." It makes you think, doesn't it? What specific qualities or behaviours define an excellent wife who becomes a crown? And conversely, what leads to the rottenness in his bones? The clue, I believe, lies in that image of a crown. Where in Scripture can we find an example of a wife, or even two wives directly associated with a crown, one bringing shame and the other excellence? I think the book of Esther gives us such a clear and precise comparison. In Esther chapter 1, we meet Queen Vashti. The king commands her to appear before him in front of all the important people of the realm, wearing her royal crown. And what does she do? She refuses. Esther chapter 1 verse 12 tells us, Queen Vashti refused to come at the king's command brought by his eunuchs. Therefore the king was furious and his anger burned within him. Imagine the king's shame. He's sitting there with his most esteemed guests, and his own queen, the one who should embody his honour, directly disobeys him. This act, refusing to obey a direct command, certainly causes shame. She embodies the rottenness in his bones metaphor perfectly, despite literally wearing a crown. Esther chapter 1 verse 11 explicitly mentions this, to bring Queen Vashti before the king wearing her royal crown in order to show her beauty to the people and the officials, for she was beautiful to behold. Her crown, of course, is eventually taken from her. Then in Esther chapter 2, we're introduced to Esther, who becomes Vashti's replacement. The scripture tells us in Esther chapter 2 verse 17, "The king loved Esther more than all the other women, and she obtained grace and favour in his sight more than all the virgins. So he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti." Here we have it. Two queens, both wearers of a crown. One brings shame and fury to the king, while the other brings joy and becomes his true crown. Esther, as we know, goes on to save her entire people, the Jews, and through her wisdom, grace and excellence, she truly is the crowning joy of the king. So, what's the specific point this proverb is making? Especially when we look at Vashti and Esther, it seems to me that an excellent wife is more like Esther than Vashti. And the specific difference between these two women, Vashti directly disobeyed the king's command, her husband's command. Esther, on the other hand, is presented as someone who was obedient, even before she became queen, while in Mordecai's care, Esther chapter 2 verse 20 says, "Now Esther had not revealed her family and her people, just as Mordecai had charged her. For Esther obeyed the command of Mordecai as when she was brought up by him." In this particular wording, Esther is shown to be the exact opposite of Vashti. It's through her obedience, I believe, that this proverb finds its fulfillment. Her willingness to submit to authority, even when it wasn't the king's direct command but Mordecai's, sets her apart. And of course, this principle of obedience isn't just for wives, it's a pattern for all of us in our walk with God. Our obedience to his will and his commandments, and indeed our submission to one another, preferring our brothers and sisters above ourselves, is a pathway to being a crown in the lives of those around us, and, most importantly, in the eyes of God. That's it for today. Find the full written study with all the scripture references at robdejongh.com. Thanks for listening.